sorry, extremely sorry. Yeah, I have started it late. Okay, so we understood the use case diagram, how the use case diagram actually going to help us. These are active actors, these are passive actors, these are the use case. We had done a basically use case with pen and paper. There are open system tool called Lucid Charts as well, which we can use, which I have used. We've seen the overall order management system or rather order management flow in a given system in terms of use case, how active actors work with passive actor, how the use case extend, depends, includes, and those scenarios are right. Then we had a look at system design software as a template. What does it include? How does it really get built from the BRD? Okay, there's a sequence ritual, I believe. Give me a minute. Okay, this should be over here. No, here. Oh, sorry. Okay, over here. So yeah, we've seen the importance of use case, right? It's really evolved over the years. It really got to a level where we could really include our thoughts on pen and paper and present it to a senior management so that all the team can unify on the thought process. We can describe in those scenario the overall flow of the business, right? Or the flow workflow of the overall activities plan for the within the solutions. So there are these typical points which normally described in a typical use case. We had a workshop on that. Yeah, then we talked about system design. We talked about the business requirement document. We talked about objectives of BRD. Just to overall revisit. BRD is basically an agreement among stakeholders. So this is like CI of a State Farm acting with CI of Infosys. We are trying to build a contract. We are trying to build a work order. We are trying to build a statement of work, which normally referred as a SOW. So this can be as simple as an email with bulleted points coming to CIO, which is going to share it with the BA. So we are really building a document based on a bullet point. So we need to understand, we need to really evolve or elicit the overall requirement to a level where the PM team can start implementing it. So that's the overall work span or work scope of a BA. And then we normally, as we talk with really critical personals, really critical business role, we need to understand their language. We need to support the overall documentation as required by them. That's the overall ball game of a BA. We need to understand the business input and devise or build the input in a technology in a format which can be included, but it's normally 99% technology independent, but you could suggest technology. So overall technology decision is with the project teams. So project manager with the help of solution architect or other guys define the technology. That also depends on what we have in terms of company resources so that they can keep the cost minimum and all those things. So as in BA, you also wear a hat of a cost manager or a ROI decider as well. So that's also really important part of a BA. Another thing, we normally take minutes of meeting. I talked about voice recorders if you may need, and nowadays it's really common to record the meeting as in voice so that I can whenever I'm trying to build minutes of meeting, when I'm trying to build the item list which shared with me while on con call or while on one-to-one meeting, or the wish list shared by client, I need to put it in a requirement document and get it approved from client as well as my within team, so that document will be shared with the development team. And we normally clarify the problem what business wants to solve to a level of a technology implementation. We also understand the restrictions, because when I say I want to improve attendance management system, I couldn't have too many persons really looking whoever is scanning by signing the register and check his batch each and every time, because there could be a shift at 1 p.m. and the security guard might be asleep. So I need to tackle such exceptions as in BA. I need to understand the on-ground scenario. So that's why we have something observation techniques and those techniques as well to address to. And that's what we also see, and we will see throughout our workshop as well again. And then how to invest your time, how to invest the money for the project, how much, and how it can be planned. That's also kind of overall thought process of a BA, and you need to understand that thing. We'll understand one by one, but I believe you got a hang of overall what BA does. Is that a right statement?
Yes.
Great, no problem. Chalo, I'm really happy to answer that. To get that answer. So we talked about the SRS system requirement specification, system requirement document, or business requirement document. There could be any name. Just try to understand the gist, or understand the purpose of this document and how we do it, what we own it, what we don't own, what we are in advisory or approval capacity. Right? We discussed that. I'm just revisiting for the other persons who have just joined. So I'm trying to address those things. So we've seen BRD, which is basically SOW or work order, or can be a mail with 6 bulleted point. This is what is required to be done. Then as in BA, you own system requirement document, system requirement specification. On basis of the agreement or on basis of that bulleted email, I build this document, I create this document, I add quite a few things, right? And SRS is basically evolution of a BRD to a next level, where I am taking that requirement business need to a level of technology implementation. Okay. Okay, I'm going to share this thing today after our class, so that you can have a go at it, you can have a look at it in depth. We discuss this thing, what is the difference, how the evolution works, what includes SRS, right? We discussed in depth. Basically, we understand the FRS. FRS is basically a Bible for a product, project, or services. The FRS is an evolution of SRS. The BRD is kind of 6 to 7 points. The SRS, which BA owns, BA authors, is normally a 30-35 page document, and FRS can span up to 60 page or 300 page or so on, so because that's an actually implementation. So if I'm going to use .NET, if I'm going to use Java, if I'm going to use Android, is there in FRS. In SRS, you could just have a bulleted point, or it's not a need. If you have the knowledge, you could include it, but not a need. SRS is technology independent 99% of the time, and FRS is basically the implementation document of a product, project, or services. FRS ownership is with the solution designing team and supported or authored by the PM, because PM has the template of FRS, BA has a template of SRS, and these templates are approved by the PM, project management office, or the top management of a company which you are working on. So this is a part of quality management services. We'll have those training capsules after whenever we finish with these tools and technology as far as BAs goes, right? So that quality management system in a IT company, or in any company for that matters, has this template ready for you. We're going to study the bare bone template, what is need, and I'm going to share those documents with you so that you can understand this thing. Even I'll share the FRS with you so that you can understand whatever you authored, whatever you created, how it's get extended to the actual Bible of the product, project, or services, right? Bible, right? Bible is like Dharma Grantha, like Quran, like well, Gita is not a Dharma Grantha of Hindu, but still that's a crucial document where everything is included, right? And then we talked about a release document and a live document. FRS is a live, SRS is a release document. So whenever BA writes it, it goes for approval and it's get released to a project management team. In Agile, the SRS is basically released after additions or modifications, and these are substantial modifications I'm talking about. FRS is a live document. It gets updated on almost daily basis, because of we normally also include the reference to the backlog backlog scenarios, the change priority change scenarios for each and every development element, or each and every creation element, or the support ticket revisions and all those things. So this is a live, but SRS is a release document, so you need to get it approved, you need to get it signed off, and then release it to the archival system. It can be something like Git, it can be something like local storage, or however the company policy may have decided it, right? We've seen this thing. And then the most important part, the traceability matrix, right? This is directly coming from the SRS, because SRS has this requirement document traceability matrix, which created by BA, and this is just the extension of it. Now this requirement traceability matrix get extended to the actual element or actual results which is expected from a project, product, or team. And BA, as an advisory capacity, or as an approval capacity, or as a primary functional tester, as a primary functional verification guy, validation guy, is basically have to track out each and every of these requirements which he or she mentioned in the SRS to an end product. And that's how the requirement traceability matrix is important. And this really corresponds to the cost of quality, as we discussed about. We're going to understand the cost of quality in detail in quality assurance. So whatever you keyed, whatever you taken from a business, stakeholder, the client, you will extend it to a nth level product. So where this code and how this code and all those things, this is the overall traceability which I'm talking about. So even if it's a part of FRS, it's a part of SRS also. So BA owns the requirement traceability matrix, almost 80% of it. We'll have a look at that thing in depth afterwards. So whenever we do quality control, quality assurance, right? Assurance is proactive, control is reactive. So whenever you trying to have this quality policy implemented, whenever you try to understand how to basically stop the requirement creep, stop the erroneous creation of project design, that's ownership lands on a BA shoulder, and that's how we're going to act. And that's why we keep the quality assurance and quality control, both the thing in BA's training capsule. Okay, any confusion at this moment? Have you understood what I'm trying to say?
Yes.
Okay, Pawniji, pardon me, because this might be a bit of Greeks to you, but I believe you as an CS student, you can relate this into actual scenarios, right?
Yes.
These are all practical scenario I'm trying to explain.
Yeah, some of things I not get into that, but later on I will, when I
Exactly.
go for enter into
Yeah,
it.
we'll have a session, separate session, so that I can answer you all the query. Please keep noting down somewhere so that we can directly relate to those. Okay?
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Thank you. No problem. So we talked about the FRS. FRS is not owned by BA, but FRS is BA is the approval authority in FRS, right? Then okay, we'll have these things. I'm going to share the templates with you of BRD and SRS, and we'll try to understand. I believe we've seen these BA roles and responsibility, and yeah, we've seen this thing. No problem. And then the additional thing which FRS includes is basically the installation setup. If it's a product or project, then all these things. Then integration requirement summary. I talked about the technological portfolio, right? If I'm working with State Farm, I must know how that Irish scanner is going to get integrated with the existing system on State Farm's office. So I might go there, I might observe the office and then decide where will be the Philips Irish scanner, where will be the Sony Irish scanner, and so on and so forth. So, and then I need to also create the supportability scenario, how Infosys is going to support State Farm for the warranty period and period after that. And I build those overall resource requirement. I build the overall understanding how many scanners are supported, how many if there is a quarterly audit for each and every of these Irish scanners, how many resources do I need as an Infosys, so that I can ask them to review these data in and out of these things, or who will be there for point of contact for the support, and what type of role should we create within Infosys so that they can support State Farm if they call somebody, whom the call should go to, and those things also. We'll have a look at it in detail in SRS as well, but this is a responsibility of PM to allocate resource or build those roles. The BA is an advisory capacity. We support PM, we support the solution architect to build this solution for State Farm from Infosys. I'm an employee of Infosys in my example, right? And then we also build some legal summary. This is with the legal team of Infosys. PM will accompany BA as well, and they will form a legal requirement summary, so that we normally don't fall into trap of copyright invasion and all those legal challenges. And then of course risk summary. Risk summary, FRS is basically includes something called risk register, and BA normally if you are senior enough, if you want to present yourself as a 5-year plus BA, you need to understand this risk register. We're going to understand risk register in detail in quality control, because this is a mechanism used to label the risk which BA as an imaginary have included in SRS. This is a kind of seniority level, so I don't expect each and every BA to have this risk register within his document, but if you can include, the SRS is really going above and beyond of your expectation. And as I told you, as it's the visibility of the role, you could be really get awards if you have really good qualified risk registered within your SRS, and that really pops out as an great help for a PM, because he just have to revisit or review the register in FRS, and the process is really good. We'll talk about risk register in quality control in depth, and we'll have a small workshop of creating a risk register. And the risk summary is basically just a bulleted point, so that as an BA you envision these risks. Like Sony's cost is 4 times than Philips scanner, so we might need to jumble up how many Sony, how many Philips iris scanner at so many number of gates. If it's a Canada, if it's a America, if it's Spain, how we could really jumble around these numbers so that the cost can be effectively managed, right? Or if you have two less Sony, then we might miss the light blue colored eyes attendees and so on and so forth. So I need to present this as a risk element in the risk register. Okay, I know this can be a bit critical for some of him. Risk register is just basically I'm trying to understand, or trying to dream the events or dream the obstacles coming way late in the future of a product, service or scenario. Okay, this is like if I don't get tap water in the morning, I'll have the top water stored somewhere for my tea in the night itself or in the evening itself, right? In India, we have in some areas we have challenge like the water coming in the 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. Clock and those things. So normally all these house lady or all those households store this water on overhead tank or in those buckets and all those things. So this is the kind of risk which I envisioned. I solved the risk by having my teapot filled ready, so that in the morning I just need to get that pot and put it on the stove and click the lighter, and that's how my tea making process will start. So I have addressed that risk, I have minimized that risk, I have pull down the score to 0. 0 score is you mitigated the risk. It's called risk mitigation. Yeah, there are big words, but as I told you, like we need to understand, I mean to speak these big words sometime, and you might hear or get this hammering of big words whenever we go throughout the session, right? Any confusion at this moment? I'll take it as a no. I'll go ahead basically, and you can ask me anytime, and just speak. That will be much better for me and for our training as well. Dipesh, even if you have any queries, feel free to ask. Right, on the training basis, we're going to talk separately later in the training. So we talked about traceability. I couldn't emphasize enough. Traceability is very important thing. And the companies like Infosys or the CMMI level 5 company treat this traceability at the top of their priority scenario, because traceability or the deviation in a traceability can cause you really big non-conformance mark. What is non-conformance? There's an auditory body within Infosys who normally check for the leaks in the document, check for the leaks in the tool set which we are using. These leaks may lead to revenue loss, may lead to resource loss, or may lead to some sort of a loss, which has to be sealed, which has to be addressed on a priority, right? So these auditory teams take this traceability thing really very critical and very crucial. So as an BA, I would really request you to understand traceability. We talked about traceability quite a few times. This traceability start with a requirement, can be a single bulleted point from a mail coming from my client saying I need to have my attendance management system improved, right? It's a single thing, but the implementation of it can go up to 20 or 30 odd different points as an SRS, and it can lead to 300 odd point in FRS. I'm trying to evolve the requirement, I'm trying to elicit the requirement from a client to a development team, and I should prevent all the leaks, all the missed element, and assume the least possible thing. And that's how I build the traceability one by one. It's just a table. So what we do, we normally, this is a table for document traceability, not a requirement traceability. So in document traceability, what I have, the date of creation, the version, the author, and the author's comment, right? So I can have today's date, 6th November 2020, description. This is my draft of system requirement specification for a client called State Farm, for a product called Attendance Management System Improvements, or a project called Attendance Management System Improvements. And comments, I can put it as per discussion with Mr. Keshav, that's CIO of State Farm, given me 8 bulleted points in email, subject name, date, and time. That's all. So this builds a complete traceability of where the document has been referred to or generated from. So this is a kind of evolution of a requirement we are talking about, right? And then even document approval, because when you try to distribute this thing as an ownership, there is approval required, because BA is an entity, right? It's a simple role. It's a executive who is working for a betterment of organization overall. So as in BA, you have within organizational hierarchy a reporting officer. It can be CIO, it can be a project manager, it can be a solution architect, it can be a sales manager as well. So it depends on every organization's environment, how the BA reporting works. So you need to present this document to him or her, the reporting authority, so that he can sign up. Okay, I think the document is fine, approved. So he'll say his name, his position, date, and time, right? Okay, there's another thing to learn. There's something called timestamp. This is normally used by technical teams. So timestamp is a date and time. Date in DDMMYYY. So 2 is like 06/11/2020. That's a date. Now time, let's understand time. Time is normally calculated in timestamp in 24 hours. So right now, as you say, it's like let's say 9 p.m. 9 p.m. is represented as 17000000. So 9 p.m. minutes and then 4 seconds. So we normally address the timestamp to nanosecond level. So whenever he's approved, normally this is done by system itself. So that sales manager, that CIO will go on the archival system of Infosys and click approved the document of BRD created by, let's say, Ravindra Pandey. And when he say approved, the date and time stamp goes into this approval process. So we know my document is approved. You might get an email or SMS or, however they've decided to intimate you. And then you are free to send the link. You don't share document nowadays. You share the link. So in the document, it's included who approved this and when he approved this. This is also a part of traceability. So the ownership of a document is basically approved, and now it's ready for distribution, so that the project management can take your SRS to a level and start filling in the functional requirement specification, start understanding your use case, start understanding your fishbone diagram, activity diagram, whatever diagrams you created for representing the requirement, right? Any confusion for traceability as of today, as of now?
No.
No.
Great. Yeah, sure. Thank you. Let's go ahead. So we started on Excel. Excel is there for everyone. So it's ease of use, cost effective. We talked about this, right? We also, saw a couple of, things which we use through Excel. We had a look at a couple of videos, how to do analytics on Excel. We also, had a look at it, essential shortcuts. I shared that video with you. And then the pivot tables. So I believe everybody knows what you mean by column, row, right? And how the overall, list of micro programming, or, how we could create those click, and, a couple of, what you can say, a complex character to have those, macros imprinted in the Excel, so that we can sort it out. We can, do the summation and all those things. Who all had a look at those 3 videos which I shared after, last class?
I did not see this.
Okay, let me open that, because yes, who have seen those, let me rephrase that questions. Revti, have you gone through that?
No, sir.
Okay, no problem. How about Rudra? Did you get a chance to go through that?
I actually didn't get the link to that.
Oh man, I'm so sorry. Okay, and I'll share that again today. Are you part of the BA training group, training BA QA?
I believe so, but I may not be in the group. So
yes, yeah, just go through that group, and this is essential, because if I keep going ahead, then you'll miss a couple of things. So please had a look at those links which I shared, and if you don't, just WhatsApp me on that group, and I'll share those links again. Okay, anyway, I'll put those 3 links again. Those links are basically trying to understand what you mean by column, what you mean by row, how the basic summation works, how the sorting works overall, because these are better said by those really Excel masters, and that's how I shared those videos. If you and we can play it over here again, but it's kind of repetitive task for that matters. But okay, let's see. Let's do one thing. Let's try to go through those video. I'll send the link. I'll paste the link in the group again. So you must have a look at those things. Today we're going to understand overall pivot tables, so that we could go a next step forward. So we're going to understand the pivot table, pivot table, whatever you want to call it, depends on the pronunciation part of it. And then interview questions. Okay, we'll have a look at interview question in a later stage of this training. But yeah, so I believe okay, just give me a minute. Chat, right? Sure, Rudra. Yeah, I'll take a note of this thing, and I'll mail you. Don't worry, for that matter, so that you can have a look at that. I'm noting it down at my computer, so don't worry. It's better spoken than chat window, because chat window you need to really open to a different. Okay. Wait a minute. Sorry. So okay, great, no problem. So Rudra, have you worked with Excel before?
Yes, sir. I have.
You have worked. Okay, no problem then. Okay, can I assume like we know basic Excel? Can I assume that? Or let's do one thing. Let me play a video which I think shared with you, and you could just try to understand. Let me go through the video part of it. There are videos. This will be kind of a repetition for others as well, but it's good to have good to understand how Excel is not shortcut, not tools. Let me check out. This is a big one though, but let me. Come on, give me a minute, please. I'm trying to understand which video was I've shared, and how it
After
was.
yours off, it'll automatically readjust
Yeah,
the size.
let me play a video for you, so that you could understand the Excel basics. I'll play this for around 10 minutes, so you will understand what I'm talking about, and then we can take it up from there. It's a kind of revision for all, but it's a need. So you need to understand Excel, because Excel gives us an ample opportunity for a BA to a level where we could express ourselves in data points. So it's really matter a lot when you start working, because once you have a data, like be it a comparison of iris scanner of Philips and Sony, you need to have this presented in tabular format, in pie chart, and in pivot tables and so on and so forth. So basic Excel knowledge is a need, and basic Excel kind of overall helps a BA to a great level you could really achieve. Okay, and don't go by the versions. After 2010, the UI is pretty much similar. They hardly tweak those UI. So let's try to understand. Could you listen? Could you able to hear this voice?
Tips and tricks.
Yes, I can hear it.
Yes.
Okay, great, sure. So I'll just continue, and you can keep asking questions. Okay.
Welcome to Sealy Training. I'm about for product as always. Most people aren't aware of the quick analysis tool. When you highlight any table, in the bottom right corner is an icon. This is the quick analysis tool menu. If you click on that,
No, as we discussed in our overall training, I'll repeat that thing again. The Excel is evolved from something called Lotus Notes. In late 80s, we have this tool called Lotus Notes, which is basically a command line style of tool, which was the first tool normally used for analysis, and the project manager was a BA. He used to put on the BA's hat whenever the time come, or the architect. They used to call it project architect, who used to put on this hat for BA. So he used to use these tools. So there are some formatting charts and tables and all those things. So that's a kind of basic need of a BA to represent the analysis, what he or she is doing, right? So this is why they call it an analysis tool. We do quick analysis based on the data. So there's a table with a table header, that A19 is a header or ABCD is a header. So those kind of technicality or name are really important to understand and learn, right? So that's what we are watching this video for. So if just kind of revisit, because this will come in our training hereafter, even in whenever we do testing reports in QC, whenever we do backlog prioritization in Scrum, we need to understand the Excel to a level where when I say header row, when I say column, when I say row, when I say do it ascending, do it descending, we should be on the same page. As a cultural, we might do something bit differently, but as a BA, as a technicality, there's a need of unification in our communication, and that's why this video is important. So I would really request you to go understand this in the best possible scenario. Okay, I'll just continue with it.
A wealth of options that you can choose from to modify your table. For example, I can click on totals, click sum, and it shows the sum of the columns. You can click this sum and it sums the rows. You can also do formatting on the table, add icons, create charts and insert them into your spreadsheet, turn it into a table, and add sparklines. There's so much available here, and it makes it quick and easy to avoid going through the menus and manually inserting each one of these different options onto your table. Number 2, filter. If you're not using filter, you should be. It's very simple. Just click anywhere inside of a table of data. Go to the data tab, click this filter icon, and it creates a filter at the top of each one of the columns. When you click on one of these, it shows you all the unique options listed anywhere in that column, and you can turn them off, select one in particular, or 2 or 3, or as many as you like, hit OK, and it filters out only those rows of data that match that filter. It's a great way to manage large lists of information. Number 3, drop-down list. Say you want to select a list of values, like 1, 2, 3, 4. And you want it to be selectable from this column right here. Go to the Data tab, click on Data Validation, and choose List from the menu choice. In the source, select the choices that you want to make available and hit Enter. Make sure this In-Cell drop-down checkbox is checked and hit OK. Now when you're in this column and you hit the down arrow, it gives you those 4 choices to choose from. If you try to type something that is outside of that range, it gives you a warning that that value doesn't match the list.
This is also called restrictive or pre-formatted sheet. So whenever you want to present something, or whenever you share the Excel sheet over the network, it's really best to have it restricted, right? It's called restricted proofing. We'll have a look at it in our workshop as well. But this is what makes it really restrictive, updation up to a great level, and that's really means somebody can't change it even if it's editable to a level. So there are certain things which, as in BA, I'll restrict the table, I'll restrict the overall formatting as well, so that whenever I'm going to share that thing with the peers or the other parties, they'll have a restricted format. They can copy it and modify it the way they want, but normally it's restricted within my scope. That's how we do it. And normally nowadays we use Office 360. This is 2016, a bit prior version, so don't worry. There could be changes here and there, right? So please don't worry on that part. And whenever you join an organization, that organization will train you on the tools they use. At least they will give you a good introduction, and they'll give some time to warm your hands on. So whatever version of Excel you're going to work on in your organizations, they'll have you guided through those training as well. Okay, and we are there to help you. So don't really worry on the versions part of it, or if my Excel shows it green and this Excel shows it brown, please don't worry on such small cosmetic things. Okay.
Number 4, auto fit column width. This is by far the quickest way to adjust the width on your columns. just go to the space between columns till your cursor turns to this shape and double click. It'll automatically readjust the size of the columns to fit the widest point of the data anywhere in that entire column. You can also highlight all of the columns, click on any one of them the same way, and it will do multiple columns at the same time. Number 5, transpose. Let's say you want to reverse the columns and rows in a table. All you have to do is highlight the entire set of data, right click, copy, choose the location where you want to place the results, right click, paste special, and check this box transpose and hit OK. Now all the columns and rows have been reversed.
This is really important whenever you're playing with data, and somebody see whenever there's a gradual increase, they normally show right to left, right? Sorry, left to right, means that's how the overall the business fraternity works. So whenever there's a graph which has to be plotted from left to right, and I might have keyed in the column from right to left. So this is really important. You can do it really with a click of column. And this guy is showing just how many 3 columns by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 rows, right? But normally the tables for a BA normally range to 40 columns, 50 rows, and so on and so forth. So the complexity of your working is at a larger level, and if you could recall these things, or recall these videos and do these things in click of mouse, it really helps you, and it saves a lot of time on job. And believe me, these are really good important tricks, right?
Click paste special and check this box transpose and hit OK. Now all the columns and rows have been reversed. Number 6, remove duplicates. Removing duplicates is handy if you have a list of names or other information where there's duplicates and you want to end up with a unique set of values. In this example, I'm going to highlight this list, click on Data, choose Remove Duplicates. The columns are selected, first name, last name, and amount. And in this case, I'm going to hit OK to remove the duplicates where all 3 of those columns match. That should be true for column 3 and column 8. And as you can see, it removes the 1 duplicate value. Now let's do the same thing, but in this case, we're not going to do the amount, and we're only going to do it where the first name and the last name are exactly the same. And it now removed 2 duplicates. Now be sure to use this remove duplicates when the results are going to be removed. If you just want to filter, you should use the filter as we looked at earlier, because this one deletes the data that is duplicates. Number 7, goal seek. Goal seek is an advanced function in Excel and is part of the what if analysis tools. In this example, say we have a number of items that we sell. We know how many of the quantity that we've sold of the first 2 items and the price each and what the total dollar amount is. But for the 3rd item, we want to know how many of these we need to sell in order to get the overall total to $6,000. Well, you could punch in numbers right here randomly to try to figure that out. And then keep working it until you get to a number that matches the 6,000 that you're targeting. But you can also use the what if analysis to figure it out for you. To use goal seek, you want to start by clicking on the target cell. Go to data, what if analysis, and choose goal seek. It fills in that target cell as your set cell. The value we're trying to reach is 6,000. And the cell we're going to change is the quantity for item 3. When you hit OK, it goes through and calculates 197 is the magic number to reach that goal of 6,000 total. Just be aware that you can use your imagination to come up with all kinds of scenarios for the what if analysis using goal seek. It handles very complex solutions. Number 8, VLOOKUP. VLOOKUP is a very commonly used tool to find data in a list. In this example, I have a list of names with an associated ID. Over here, I'm creating a new table, and I want to reference the names in this table to look up the ID from this list and fill them in. To do that, I want to use the VLOOKUP function. Click on the Insert Function button, and you want to find VLOOKUP in the list. You can type it in, do a search against all, and once it's there, select it, and it brings up the function arguments. To remind you of what you fill in each one of these, there's a description down here. The lookup value is what value do I want to look up in the list, and that is the name, Nancy. The list that I'm going to choose from is the entire list. And the column index number is the column that I want to return the value from. In this case, this is column 1, and this is column 2. So I'm going to choose column 2. And finally, the range lookup is either true or false. If you use true, it looks for the closest match. False is an exact match, and in almost every situation, you want to use false. Hit OK, and you can see that it looked up Nancy in the table and found the ID and returned it over here. All we have to do then is copy this data down. Now you'll notice right here, Carol isn't in the list, so it returns an NA. Now also note that there is an HLOOKUP function, which is horizontal instead of vertical. So if you're looking up something in a different format, you may need to use the HLOOKUP, but it essentially has the same parameters. And the beauty of the VLOOKUP function is if you change a value, it will update it automatically in the table. Number 9, flash and autofill. Flash fill and autofill are slightly different. In this example, we have some email addresses, and they fit the format of first name dot last name throughout the list. If you start typing the name because you want to pull it out of the email address, flash fill automatically detects the pattern that you're using, and it recommends a solution to fill it in for you. So you can hit enter, and it fills those in for the remainder. Autofill is also based on patterns. So if you put a number in, for example, and you use the right corner and drag it down, it autofills those numbers in there. Now, if I did 1, 2, and selected both, and then drag it down, it sees the pattern and automatically increments by 1 each time. You can do the same thing with dates. With months. Just remember there has to be a detectable pattern and to use the correct option on the corners. So if you type something in and you drag it, it's going to copy it. If you type something in and you double click, it fills it in automatically, matching up with the left column next to it. And if you define a pattern, make sure you highlight both or more and then drag. Flash fill and autofill are both really good at making you more efficient in typing information.
So I believe we got a hang of it, right? And there are more. I'll share this video with the group, and then we can have a look at it in depth. Let's go ahead on the overall our training continuation. This is need again. I can't emphasize enough. You need to understand use case, Excel, and the document template. These 3 things really well, so that whenever you join, you'll start working from the day 1. There could be some tweaks and twists as to the company policies or company quality management system, but they will train on those. So you will be a ready BA whenever you start working on, let's say, 1st December, 15th December, or 1st January, for that matters, right? So that's what the position I want you to be. And that's why we are spending so much time in learning these tools. These are tools there for, ages altogether. Now we are improving on those. We are going to use those as per our requirement as a business analyst, right? Any confusion at this moment? Okay. Last time I've talked about creating a home expense Excel sheet. Have anybody done that?
No.
Oh man, this is kind of
sir,
homework.
sorry.
No, there's nothing to be sorry about. See, this is like I want to help you to achieve something. but you need to put in your efforts, and these are such efforts, and I would really request you to put these efforts. I'll share this video also, try to do it. And now today we are going to start with pivot table. So whatever data I've collected, I'm trying to build result, and then present this result in my presentations, and I can clearly copy this to my presentation, and I present it to CIO CTO. That's how normally happens. So learning these things are really crucial for a BA, and I would really request today spend some time, or tomorrow whenever you have time, spend some hour or two, try to build something called expense sheet of your last week or last month, whatever you feel right. And I don't want to understand your number or your expense patterns or something, but I want you to understand Excel and relate it to your actual challenging scenario, and we will sort it out, because this is what I do day in day out for me, myself and my family, so that how much income I get, how much spending I'm doing, is it in line, I can put it in a pie chart, and we're going to see that. Could we put it in a pie chart? Could Excel give me an intimation saying, boss, you just left with $200 in the bank, and you have spending listed for around $600, so you need to borrow some $400 from somebody somewhere, or make it as an income column. So these kind of support which I'm going to get from that Excel sheet. So I would really like you to try this by yourself, and we'll try to understand the Excel, how it works for us. And when you understand that thing, it will be really easy whenever you start working as an BA to present the data or create the data sheets, whatever required, because that basic knowledge is a need, and that's you need to build it within yourself, and that's how we're going to work it out, right? Okay, so I'll just close this video. And I'll go on with the next slide in my training. So we are going a bit advanced in terms of Excel, how we do it overall, right? So we are going to understand pivot tables and chart. These are basically chart created from a table. Let's say if I have a table of expenses listed and the incomings, what you call them, confirm incomes, like whatever income has been confirmed, they'll come to me. Okay, so those kind of scenario, how to plot those things, how to graph it out, how to create trends, how to understand the history and then plot the trends and those things. So I'll have you watched this video? Let me check out wherever I had that pivot tables analysis training. Yes, pivot table part 1. Okay, so let's try to understand the pivot tables, charts, and dashboard. Let me
John, and
let me get this thing started for you. I'll just go here and share you. It's a small video, and then it'll basically makes us understand how we could basically plot this chart for us, right? So let me, where that thing on? I couldn't, yes, here. Could you see a guy with a graph chart?
Yes.
Okay, great. I'll start this thing. So we are going a bit advanced. We can, this is a kind of next step to your expense sheet. So next steps to your expense sheet, which can intimate me, which can analyze the trend for me internally without writing any code. That's where we are trying to reach here, right? So try to understand this, and we'll take questions afterwards.
And ultimately a dashboard for an upcoming presentation. All Andy was given is this giant sheet of data and a list of reports that his boss needs. Although he's excited about the challenge, Andy is wondering how he's going to turn this data into a nice looking dashboard. Of course, he wants to save the day and become the superhero of the office.
I talked to you about dashboard, right? Dashboards are basically a reporting mechanism to top management. This is how the BA roles came into existence, to publish dashboards, right? So these are kind of system, what they call MIS. So we build the reports from historical data, and we try to build the trend charts. We try to elongate the history reports to a level where I could predict the future in a certain way. Within those numbers, as in a concrete auditory proof, which is extended to the trending analysis. So this is a kind of what you call trend analysis. So whenever you do a research on, let's say, number of products which you're going to use, So we need to understand how the evolution of product happened and how I could use the base product. So it could be something like cost, it could be basic like number of functionalities and so on and so forth. So BA uses this thing to present to top management how the decision which you believe is correct in terms of trends, industry trends, in terms of cost return, in terms of number of functionalities supported. So this is really important tool and BA use day in, day out, right? So this is really crucial thing to understand.
So what Andy really needs is to learn how to use pivot tables. In this video series, I'm going to show you how we're going to solve Andy's problem. We're going to take this sheet of data and turn it into a nice looking interactive dashboard using pivot tables and pivot charts. We're going to build each of these reports using pivot tables and then bring it all together to create the dashboard. Now don't worry if you think this looks complicated. Pivot tables are very easy to use and don't require any complex formulas or VBA macros. Just simple drag and drop. Throughout this video series, I'm also going to be showing you an add-in I developed called PivotPal. PivotPal makes it easier to work with some aspects of pivot tables and will save you a lot of time. But you don't need to have PivotPal to create these pivot tables and dashboards. Everything you need is already built into Excel. All right, so in this first video, we're going to cover the basics of building a pivot table. I'm going to show you how to create this pivot table here that's a summary of revenue by sales rep.
You could read these things, right? Means the sales rep by December 14 and all those things. Could you read the letters? Can anybody confirm for me, please?
Yes, yes, we can read, sir.
Yes, we can read.
No. I'll continue.
And also this pivot chart over here, which just displays that information visually. So we know that Andy has this set of data to work with. This is really all he's been given. And this is what we're going to use to create our pivot tables. This will be considered our source data. And before you start building a pivot table, it's a good idea to familiarize yourself with the source data, especially if you haven't seen it before. So this data was exported from our general ledger software, and basically it contains order details for December. So each row in the data here contains information for a specific order. So you can see we have the order date, some customer information here, the salesperson, region, we got some shipping information as I scroll over, and we also have some product information and then some information about the price of the product, the revenue, quantity, all that stuff. So it's good information. The other thing you want to do is make sure that your data is in a tabular format. And that just means that you have a row of headers here at the top of the data set. And each of these headers describes the column of data below. And I provided a checklist so you can go over this in more detail. The other things you want to look out for is that you want to make sure there's no blank columns within your header row here and no blank rows within your data set, especially if you have a column of dates. You want to make sure there's no blank rows or cells in your date column. You also want to look out for any merged cells. A lot of times when you're exporting data, the software will automatically merge some cells together. And you want to make sure you unmerge all the cells. So once your data is cleaned up, and this data looks pretty good, we go to the Insert tab on the ribbon and then click the Pivot Table button. And that'll bring up this Create Pivot Table window. And basically it's asking us to select the table or range. Now you can see that Excel has automatically detected the range for me. And that's because I had a cell selected inside the pivot table, or I'm sorry, inside the data set before I clicked the Create Pivot Table button. So as long as you do that, select a cell inside the range, click this button, and Excel will automatically detect the range for it.
The word which he's trying to use, the data set and all those things, these are pretty technical, and I believe we will learn, but you could relate it to whatever you can see on the screen, right? So there's a column, there's a row, and the intersection is called cell, and that's the data element. Data set is basically overall the column he's talking to, column he's referring to, so that these columns completely have a set of data elements, right? So that's what they call data set. And these are few things, even if you don't learn right now, and these are depends on the environment you work in. So it might be technical or less technical, and those scenarios. So if you go to Infosys, they use these words called data sets and all those things, because Infosys is an IT company. So if you're working with something like, let's say, enterprise rent a car, or something like State Farm as an insurance agency. So they don't use data set, they use column, row, and sales. Sales is basically intersection between rows and column. We've discussed this, but I'm just trying to emphasize this because labeling or the using correct word is also important for presenting it. So that's how the whole scenario pops it up for a BA as an great employee, working employee, and those levels. Okay.
If it doesn't, you can just click this blue button over here and go and select your range. The next step is that we want to choose where we're going to put the pivot table. In this case, we'll put it on a new worksheet. So I'll go ahead and click OK. And now you'll see that's automatically added a new sheet to our workbook here and created this pivot table area. You'll also notice over on the right side that this pivot table fields list has appeared. And this is basically the window we're going to use to create the pivot table. So here's a list of all the fields in our data set here. And then down below is the areas that we can drag those fields into to create a pivot table report. So the first thing I'm going to do is find that salesperson field. And here it is here. So I'm going to drag that into the rows area. So I'm going to left click and hold, drag it into the rows area of the pivot table and drop it there. And you'll notice now that in the pivot table, it's listed our sales reps in the rows area of the pivot table. So each row contains a sales rep name. Now I want to add the revenue to this report as well, so I can get a summary of revenue. So I'm going to find this revenue field here, the field list, and then drag it into the values area of the pivot table. When I drag it into the values area, drop it there, you'll notice that Excel has automatically calculated the sum of revenue for each rep that's listed in the rows area of the pivot table. So this is really the power and the magic of the pivot table. It is automatically calculated the sum of revenue for each rep just almost instantly as we drag the field into the values area. And it's a good idea to get an understanding of what actually happens there. So let me try and explain this a little better. So here we can see Andrew has sales of 12,368 here in the pivot table. And basically what the pivot table has done, if I go back to the data tab, I'm going to filter the salesperson field here for Andrew. So we're just seeing the sales that Andrew's done. And you can see here that he's done 8 sales in the month of December. Now, if I go over to the rows column, and I'm just going to select these revenue numbers here, you can see here's our sum of revenue of 12,368 for Andrew. So basically the pivot table has done this filter and calculation for us. It's basically filtered the data set for each rep, each unique item in that field, and then calculated the sum of revenue for each rep. So it's a very powerful tool because with just a few clicks, you could see that we've automatically created this nice summary report from our data set. And I also have a pivot table diagram here that just kind of shows you where each of these areas are within a standard pivot table. So you can see this is kind of a standard looking report. We have our sales rep here on the left side. We have quarters across the top, and then the sum of revenue here in the middle section. And up here, we have the year, a filter for the year. So these are basically the different areas that you could drag fields into in the pivot table. And each of them displays information a little differently. So throughout this video series, I'll explain how each of these areas within the pivot table works. Okay, so let's continue building out our pivot table. So probably the first thing you notice.
Any confusion at this moment? Anybody needs some explanation? You've seen, right, the big data, big sheet converted into a simple table. And I can include this table in my presentation if I just need the summary of it. But it's better to go to a level and try to analyze the data. That's what the analysis do. That's what the analysis is all about, right? So we analyze the data. Now the Excel does the calculation for us. So I don't have to do any programming. I have to just click, 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 and I need to learn where to click and how to click. Yes, that's the efforts we need to put in. And that's why I think the homework is really required. So just try to build some, expense sheet, and we build some tables on, top of those sheets. So you can just, do something like, expenses in last 4 weeks. Just put some heads, just put some name, numbers, and those things. And then we'll create some really effective, we'll do some analysis on that. And then we'll try to understand the spending pattern. We try to, create some spending required in, next weeks, next month, and so on and so forth. So that will be kind of let us use the tool the most effective possible way. And believe me, you'll start using, hereafter, so that, the best usage is rather than me scratching head, I'm getting the numbers delivered to me by the table, right? So this Excel sheet really helps you out to plan your expenses for, it studies your previous and it extrapolates it to a level where you could plan your expenses out. There could be some scenarios like Diwali, like Christmas, you spend some extra money, but yes, that right? Means for, Christmas, I need to get a Christmas tree. So that is kind of additional come to it. For Diwali, I need to get some new clothes. That's a kind of addition. So, but that's just the gap of difference from your trend, right? So you can clearly add that. So I'll keep, let's say, $1,000 for my clothes and all. So it depends on my planning. It depends on how effective I can plan it out. And this is what the overall extending the vision from a typical requirement to a level where technology team can start implementing it. That's the philosophy of overall, thought process. We are building this data structure or building this, overall pivot tables for that matter. So we are building the analysis done by our thoughts, but calculated by some tool called Excel. And this is what the, overall things which we're trying to learn, right? Let's go ahead.
Is that these numbers are not formatted. When we drug the revenue field into the values area, it did not format those numbers. So we want to format those. And the easiest way to do that is if you just right click on any cell in the values area there, and then go to value field settings. That'll bring up this value field settings for the revenue field, sum of revenue. And we're going to click on the number format button. That'll bring up the format cells dialog. This one you're probably familiar with. Just going to choose currency, no decimals, click OK, and then click OK here. And you can see now that our numbers are formatted and they look a little nicer. The next thing I'm going to...
Okay, by default, Excel is tuned to American way of working. So this way, all the, default date format is like, MMDDYYY. So month first, date after, and those things. Even by default, it takes pound as a normal currency. You can change it to, dollar as a currency symbol. You can change it to, we have rupees, we have pounds, we have, all the other things. Even Canadian dollar, I believe CN dollar is how it's represented. But we can do that. It's in there. So we need to, change the currency setting as well over there. But overall, as in, if you're working in North America, you are well settled for the configuration of the tool itself. Okay. Any question for me at this moment? I'll go ahead.
Do is sort this information. So I want to put the top performing rep at the top of the list here. So basically, I'm just going to select any cell in the values area and right click and then go to sort and sort largest to smallest. And now that's sorted our list here from largest to smallest. So we can see our top performing rep, which is Nancy, at the top of the list, and then our bottom performing rep, which is Jan, down at the bottom. So this now gives us some really good information. We can kind of see who's doing well and maybe who struggled this month or for some reason didn't do as well. And I'm more of a visual person, so I want to see this information in a chart as well. So as long as I have any cell selected in the pivot table, go up to the Analyze tab or the Options tab and click Pivot Chart. And that'll bring up this chart window. And I'm going to insert a bar chart. Click OK. So now we've automatically created a bar chart here that just allows us to visualize this information. And I'm going to quickly show you how we can clean this up, because the default chart formatting out of the box it's kind of ugly, honestly. So we're going to clean this up a bit. So the first thing I typically do is just hide all these field buttons. These field buttons allow you to apply filters, but we don't really need that for our dashboard. So I'm going to hide those. You'll also notice that these names here are in the opposite order of what they are here on the pivot table.
See how much the Excel does it for you in the background, right? Because if you do this thing, programmatically, it might take, if not months, at least weeks together. And this tool is so matured, it does it for you. So it plotted the names against the, overall, revenue generation, sum of revenue and all those things. And it's also did quite a few things in the background. And, the beauty of it can really speak for itself. And that's how the overall tool is. I think, this is what basically what we need to practice, so that if you put in your, some efforts, you'll get really sparkling results. And you can just, copy this, what I can say, total, graph, and paste it in a Microsoft PowerPoint, so that whatever you're trying to present is present in clear and crisp way to senior management, right? Or be it something like return on investment, right? So whatever point I'm trying to make in terms of, building the project, product, services, it returns, the effectibility of given ID scanners, so on and so forth. So I could present it in a really best possible scenario. And this is just the simplest chart we are seeing right now. There are really good example of better charts available within Excel. You just have to know where to click, how to click, and how to plot the graph for you. You have to just collect the data. The graphs will be plotted by Excel, and whenever you modify the numbers, whenever I change the numbers, the plot the graph gets changed on fly. It gets changed automatically by Excel. That's how the tool is really created. So believe me, the tool is really great. Only the thing, we need to learn how to use it, and that's the beauty of it. You don't have to put so many efforts, but at least what I'm asking, put couple of hours, 2 or 3 years at the most. You require 4 hours. That's what I can estimate right now, and try to do this thing for your use. And something like Excel sheet, you could use it throughout your life, and this is really best tool to use it. And we all have Excel, so I'm not sending an extra dime from my pocket, and I'm getting really good tool. I'm just putting it to use. That's how the way I look at it, right? Any confusion at this moment? Any complications?
Sure. Nothing.
Okay, we all set, right? I'll just continue this thing.
So we need to reverse the order of this. So I'm going to right click here, go to Format Access. That'll bring up this Format Access window. It looks a little different in Excel 2010, but the options are the same. Go to Access Options, and then I'm going to check this box, Categories in Reverse Order. And that's going to reverse the order of these categories here so they match what's on the page. I'm going to close that. The other thing I want to do is, well, I'm going to get rid of these labels here. So I'm just going to left click to select those, hit the delete key on the keyboard. I'm also going to get rid of the legend. So click that and delete on the keyboard. And I want to get rid of these vertical lines. So I'm going to left click on those, delete. And then I also want to add some labels here. So in Excel 2013, you can just click on this plus button, go to data labels. That'll add our data labels there. I'm going to make my plot area a little smaller so the data label doesn't overlap the bar. And now I also want to make these bars wider. So to do that, I'm going to again right click on the bar, right click, go to Format Data Series. That'll bring up the Format Data Series window. And we're looking in the series options, we're looking for a gap width. And if I just make that smaller, that'll make the gap between the bars smaller and make the bars bigger. So now we can see that we have some bigger looking bars, and this is starting to look pretty nice. Of course, we want to add a title here. So we're going to go sales by rep for December 2014, something like that. So now with just a few clicks, we have this great looking chart that allows us to visually see our report here, or our sales by rep for the month of December. So hopefully you've kind of seen the power of the pivot table here, and it's not really that scary of an item. It's actually very easy to use and extremely powerful, and allows you to quickly summarize and visualize your information. All right, so I want to quickly show you how you can use PivotPal to create this same pivot table report, and how it makes it a little faster to do so. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to clear out this automatically what you think. So please leave a comment below with any questions or suggestions. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you soon.
Let me, okay, where do I do that? Over here, come on. Okay, it's gone like this, yeah, okay. And where were we? Okay. Okay, so we've seen the pivot tables in the simplest possible way, right? And this is how you present your research findings and those things. And yeah, there's another as well. Okay. But do you have any questions for me at this moment? Do you believe you could do this thing? Let me ask in simple questions.
Yes,
Who
we
all-
can.
You can, right? Means I'll share this video also with you, and let's not go for the third-party component addition like that pivot poll and all those things. There are dime a dozen, these kind of tools you can add it to Excel. These are called micros or, those things. But let's not go there because these are all, you're going to use it in your company, right? Where you're going to work, be it Infosys or something. They have a strict policy for add-ons. So for that, I think whatever Office you get as an install on your laptop or get access to like Office 360, they'll have these all add-ons with you. And whenever you join that company, they'll train you like these are the add-ons you already have with you. So if they have, and mostly they'll have 4 or 5 pivot tables inbuilt micro, that's how they refer to. Okay, so macro, so macro, macro. So macro is kind of pre-formatted tables, pre-formatted Excel sheet, which have certain functionality inbuilt. Okay, so it might happen like you have created a table. Let's say, let's talk about whatever, we discuss in home expense sheet. So I have a sheet called home expense sheet. Can be HES, whatever label you want to give to the sheet. And in the background, the Excel might create another sheet for you. So whenever I type, I spend $400 on, let's say, tilde basmati, right? And if I'm purchasing $400 tilde basmati for a month, then that Excel sheet can extrapolate in the background saying for next 2 months you're going to need 800. And if you tell the Excel sheet like I need to plan my revenue for the next 2 months, so those $800 will show on your confirmed revenue expenses or or booked revenue expenses. So these are the labels also which will going to get learned from our homework. These are the labels normally used in financial market, financial domain, or certain specific domains. So this is what we call domain experience. This is what we call the domain linguistics, how we use or to present and all. So these tables will take us to a level where you could start becoming domain expertise. So even if you do some R&D for something like iris scanners, right? And this is a bit technical in the scenario. If you're not an engineer by background, you need to understand a bit of few things which the SME, which we leverage through project manager, could guide you to basically understand this linguistic. Like when I say iris scanner, right? We talked about Sony and Philips. So whenever I'm suggesting Philips for a maximum, deployment and Sony for a few deployment, I need to understand or I need to present my data in a scenario. I'm trying to present my cost effectiveness to the project, right? I need to present my cost effectiveness to the product and the overall implementation part of it. I'm taking a number 1 or 2 is just a small number, but if you look at the State Farm, means their office in I think Urbana, Champaign in Illinois, near to St. Louis, having around I think 3 buildings. So if you're really trying to implement scanners there, I need to have at least I'm talking about 60 to 70 70 scanners of Sony, or 100-300 scanners of Philips, and so on and so forth. So try to understand the cost extrapolation whenever you talk, when you think in terms of implementation of your product idea. You might do a research for 1 or 2, but the way it's get reflected in your return on investment or reflected in the cost of overall product and produce, it's in the multiple of those and in multiple of thousands, whatever you put, whatever you discuss. So as in BA, as in criticality of role, we need to understand this extrapolation. We need to understand this trend. I might do a research for half an hour, but the reflection of that half an hour research in my project can be in millions. And that's how criticalness of BA really makes the BA a crucial role, a vision, visible role. And as I told you, like you are a face of an organization called Infi to a face of State Farm. So you are going and talking to the CIO or the product owners, whoever envision to improve the overall attendance management system, right? So I believe you could understand the criticalness, right? Any confusion there?
Could you repeat what we do again? Sorry.
See, I'm trying to tell you the criticalness of a chair where you're sitting in as a business analyst role. what the business analysts do, he create the vision of a client to a implementation implementation ready vision of my organization where I'm working to. So the example, okay, sorry, this is Rudra, right? Okay, I'm trying to, we take this sample throughout our BA as well as QA, QC, and, even Scrum training as well. See, I'm working for Infosys, which is a matured IT organization and a a development partner of State Farm. State Farm is an insurance company in, Midwest, in St. Louis and, on those areas. I used to work in St. Louis for around 3 odd years. I used to work for Enterprise in Dakar. And I did work with State Farm in past, so I know State Farm. I visited their office quite a few times. I was a project lead for multiple technologies, so I used to lead the Java as well as .NET team for that insurance connector project for our enterprise, help desk. So I know ground level scenario, so I can relate to, and I want you to relate to, because that's the overall, best business challenges scenario which we could intercept and we could, build the data on. So as an employee of an Infosys, which is a matured IT company, as an BA working at Infosys, I am taking a requirement from State Farm, which is an insurance company, which is, well, it's practically, quite, what you can say, advanced in IT. But for the example purpose, we are trying to understand an insurance company. So it's not that technical the way Infosys and all are, right? Infosys and, State Farm are working for last 20 odd years. So they are really, good in terms of, the client connection, the processes and all those parts. So what normally does happen, a CIO of Infosys or a very senior person in Infosys comes to your desk saying, hey, Rudra, let's, go to a meet this State Farm CIO called Keshav and try to understand. He had some requirement for us as a next step of, addition of a project. So he want to really, spend a couple of hours with us. So what say you and your project manager or your CIO, CTO, whatever, goes into State Farm office in Urbana-Champaign, Illinois, and had a meeting with this CIO or a product owner, which is also a very senior person in your state, in State Farm, because he's trying to improve his attendance management system. So think it that direction. He at least at a VP HR level or above that. So he tried to. He knows the challenges in attendance management system, and he want to improve the attendance management system in State Farm. Okay, let's say for that location to start with, as in thought process, State Farm have around 300 odd offices throughout the North America, some 100 plus in Spain, and some I think 100 plus in Canada as well. Mostly I think 200 plus in Canada. So that way the State Farm is big company. It's around I think 15 billion overall revenue, what the last balance sheet tells you. But let's not worry about the business part of it. We are working with two really matured organizations, and as in BA, I am helping Infosys to explain the business or to understand the business problem of a State Farm for an implementation team in Infosys, because I work for Infosys. I'm on Infosys payroll. I go to State Farm with my senior manager and trying to understand what the senior person at State Farm trying to put as a business requirement, and as a technology partner, Infosys is going to give the solution to him, right? So that's the overall example we discuss, and this will be for throughout our training capsule. So have you understood the plot?
Yeah,
Rudra?
I think I understand.
Okay, great. So now you can understand the criticality of a person, right? So if BM is a single thing or single requirement from those 6-7 requirement, whatever the State Farm senior officials give you, it can multiply to a very high level in terms of revenue, and very kind of challenging scenario for Infosys. So that's a whatever you do. Normally BA goes with a voice recorder. So you tend to re-listen whenever you go in your office and try to check out if I missed anything or not. And this is a normal practice. And whenever you visit something like a State Farm, you told them like, I'm going to record this thing on my voice recorder, so that please this is what we do as and that's a standard practice in Infosys, Patni, and all Indian IT giants. At least that's what I know. I worked with few of them. So, even QA for that matters, not QA, CA is a, big organization, consulting organization in US who follows this voice recording for BA. So you normally record the voice. So whatever getting discussed in meeting, we normally put it on a voice, go to my table, and before actually creating something called minutes of meeting, Minutes of meeting is basically a document which a BA, or normally for that matters, for every meeting you should create, so that I know what are the action items. I can really plan my actions, the results expected and the output expected in advance whenever I do the meeting. So what does minutes of meeting comprises of? It can be an Excel sheet or Word document which has who are the attendees of a meeting, who was chairing the meeting, who basically call this meeting, right? And then you put on what are the points you discussed. So the senior person in State Farm tells you, I want to improve my attendance management system. We had a thought of it in last couple of weeks, and these are 3 members of my team which have have been basically instrumental in deciding what we need to do. So what we are planning in a Abana Champagne office, there are around 3 buildings, and we want to improve the attendance management system here before Christmas. So let's try to club all this together in the next 4 to 5 weeks, so that we'll have a concrete let's say proof of concept. Proof of concept is basically an element of a product and project services which we present to a client as in proof of the correct direction we take to build the actual big and complex product. This is not a complex product, but I'm just trying to explain the nomenclature overall, the way BA works, right? So those kind of scenario, and I'll put this wish list. This can be a wish list of a State Farm saying, I need the POC before Christmas. POC is a very small thing. It can be just a single attendance management system thread, or I can put a iris scanner at one of the office, or one of the in gates at State Farm office, and I can collect the data and present it to the senior management again before Christmas or on Christmas, or around that day, and that can be agreed to afterwards, not in the same meeting. So what I put as an action item on BA, PM, or whatever person who's leading the overall this new initiative, right? It can be CIO within Infosys, it can be a senior project manager, or a sales manager for that matter. This happens, like even senior sales persons in Infosys take a BA with them to visit something like State Farm office and try to understand the requirement. And basically you will have around 8 to 9 such agenda included in the minutes of meeting as an action item for even on client name, means whoever leading the client team, the action item, you can pin it on his shoulders saying, okay, Mr. Keshav, senior VP HR in State Farm has to come back to me with these numbers, like how many employees do you have in these 3 offices, how many gates or how many input output vents or doors where we need to have implemented this solution, and so on and so forth. This will basically create the exact scope of the product, project, or services which a BA is going to plan to, right? So you need to understand all the questions and think through for the solutions at a level where we could implement the solution and or rather give a complete clear crisp vision and hand it over to the development team. That's the overall crucial or criticalness of a BA. So if you miss a simple element like calculating the number of gates or calculating number of employees, it can lead to a very disastrous stage for the project or product in latter stage. So that's why the quality prevention, the QA is quality assurance, right? Quality assurance is really a big crucial area for BA to stick to and improve it onto, right? So that's why whatever you take as in the minutes of meeting is also important in terms of, because these minutes of meeting can be a supporting or client supplying material to your BRD. BRD is a kind of getting signed off. Whenever you through with meeting, you come to your office, you create this minutes of meeting, right? And you share with whoever was there in the minutes of meeting. You share it nowadays through a portal. Normally you don't share the document, you don't attach the document, you normally send a link, right? So it could be something like JIT. It's a online repository of a document, a cloud-based archival system like we have Google Drive and in our mobile. So something like that, which we share the documents to, because those documents get audited and verified by the legal team. Even if you send a link to a client, it will not show them the document before the legal team okays it. So it happens in the background. So BA team don't have to contact any legal person as in to share something with the client. So it gets done in the background. So I'll put in on my Infosys they call it intranet. Normally it's referred as an intranet in all matured organizations. So I push it on my intranet labeled with my project name and a product name by the sales manager, who will create those project workspace. That's the actual technical label which we use in IT, project workspace online. There's a software called workspace also, so don't get confused with software and the cloud space available in a given organizations. And the company induction or company processes will guide you where to put and how to put, and whom to inform, those kind of scenario, right? So I upload this document called minutes of meeting to a company portal within my company, so that it can be distributed to the client, and I'll embed the link in my email saying, okay, I have created this minutes of meeting. Hey person so and so, please suggest if I missed out or any omissions or any additions to it, and I'll wait for next 3 days, so that if I omitted or those things, I'll add those things and recirculate again. And this happens, means let's be open. Whenever you share or whenever you talk, let's be open that you could make mistake as a human, and that's understood, right? So as an BA, it's my diplomacy also does count to a level where I could go to a person, talk to, and that's what the communication is all about. And that's why in the candidate counseling session, we clearly mentions, if you're good in English, if you talk diplomatically, that adds to a value at a to a great extent. So you need to basically diplomatic in your communication, saying, please let me know if I missed out, or if you want to add anything in addition to whatever we discussed. So that's also, let's keep the open communication thing. And after you send the MOM, the VPHR can call to your sales manager saying, boss, I'm okay with this idea, let's work out on something called statement of work or a BRD. They might use different word because these are all very senior persons, very matured in their processes and all. They might say statement of work, and I'll send it to you, and then we'll sign it upon. And then that statement of work can be converted to a contract. As we discussed, the contract is the base for your SRS, right? So you have initiated a long-term engagement between State Farm and Infosys, a new engagement, a new work thread, right? And for that, the Infosys will get paid for, and you're the person who envisioned this thing. So that's how you start new product, new project or services from a business vision to an implementation level guidelines document, right? And that's the output, the SRS, which will be based on this minutes of meeting, which is a kind of client supply material based on the statement of work or the contract signed between the two top bosses of State Farm and Infosys, because that's a kind of legal document. And there are quite a few things which might get included, which is not relevant to BA, because ROI, BA can overlook it. It's not really important how the to dignity these things about return on investment, right? Because State Farm is also going to invest in terms of some what I can say, advance money given to Infosys to start this work. And even Infosys going to allocate some sums for all the resources, like even your salary, the license software which you use for creating these diagrams and so on and so forth. So those things are kind of revenue which the senior person in Infosys also planned for. So there's a revenue sharing or business sharing based relationship between State Farm and Infosys, relying on shoulders of BA. That's the overall kind of extrapolation, but yeah, on the ground, that's the actual scenario, and that's the overall criticalness of a BA. Have I could you understand this relevance? If any confusion, please feel free to ask, or otherwise I'll keep going on talking, and you might miss certain relevance. Have you understood what I'm trying to say here?
I understand.
Okay. How about you, Sheetal?
Yeah.
You okay, right? Means whatever I've spoken, you understood.
Yes, I'm good.
Yeah. How about you, Usha?
Yes, I'm good. I'm able to understand.
Great, great. I just want to make sure, because this is the most critical thing which BA does, and you need to really raise to the occasion for such things, right? And we'll enable you. Don't worry on that part, right? Pavni, do you have any question for me?
No, nothing, but it
Okay.
takes time to me.
I know,
And
I can understand.
doubt, yeah.
It's your first session, even same with Deepesh also, but Deepesh was working as a project manager, so he can really relate to an actual scenario. Deepesh, do you want to put your words, like how do you relate to actual scenario of yours? This will basically enable the others to understand, because there are a couple of freshers here as well. So if you could please put words like how do you handle such situation, because you might have put on this hat some point in the time. Dipesh, I believe he's there but not there, but that's okay. No problem. Okay, so I believe I have described the overall actual on-job scenario in depth, and that's how important is how to present this scenario to a senior management, because whenever that SOW is signed, right, the Infosys own the development for the state farm in the next one so time period, schedule, or whatever their wish list is, right? Now it's BA's role to qualify these wish lists, to build the SRS on the discussions on the whatever documents and diagrams those have. So you might create a use case for developing a solution or improving the attendance management system for the state farm with the team of resources within Infosys, right? And that's the overall example we normally talk about. Now in pivot tables, how we implement is, I'll put in my requirements, I'll put in the alternatives available, I'll also put in some of the different alternative of software which are ready-made in the market. If you can use this, there are software called open systems. If you ever heard of open system, is basically these are free softwares available on the internet, and you can customize it, you can tweak it and use it within your project, product or services. And this is how you build the efficiency overall. So in good old days, the project used to span years and years across. Nowadays, projects are normally finished within months. With the agile scenario, with the agile methodologies and framework, we try to expedite things quite effectively. And some of them is basically using open system tools available in the internet. So I don't have to keep revisiting or reinventing the wheel of a new product or service every time. I could use, so there's a bit of research and involved in this using open system product, and for that, as I discussed you, there's a center of excellence and there's a subject matter experts which are at a disposal of BA, right? So it's BA's responsibility to understand or to go to somebody like sales manager or the person whom we are reporting to and ask, hey boss, I believe we need to have some iris scanner R&D done for this thing. So could we leverage some center of excellence resource or what I can say, subject matter experts in attendance management system or HR processes, and then the other person come back to you with a name and a number or an email, so that you can request him or her to discuss these things, and you could discuss on a call, you could discuss you can meet one-to-one, and so on and so forth. So these domain experts, this is what you call domain experts or subject matter experts or center of excellence, can guide you on iris, eyelid scanner, on full body scanners, on how to improve the attendance processes, what are the normal processes included in the attendance management system, so that you can just utilize their expertise. And again, you can record this meeting, record this call, and utilize those things, include it in your SRS, so that whatever process improvements you can suggest, well and good, you can put it in your SRS as an assumptions, scenarios, or the future trend charts, and these are the numbers supporting those things. That's why these pivot tables, this chart, this pie diagrams or the bar charts really helps a BA to put this as an really best possible or best descriptive image than text, because text can flow up to 10 or 15 different pages, but pivot tables can describe it in just one slide. Have you seen that slide, right? And just to go to the next level, I have another video to showcase to you. It's called pivot table, and it's kind of next continuation for whatever you've tried. Now we'll try with different charts. We'll try to even make it more what you can say, more visible, more strategically appealing to the senior management. Now this is my communication to the senior management where I'm working. So this is me giving presentation to CIO of the world, the PMOs of the world, and the sponsors of the world within my company as an Infosys, right? So try to understand what I'm trying to do as an BA and whom I'm trying to present the pivot tables, charts, pie charts, and all those things, so that whatever I'm creating, be it a use case diagram, I need to present to such senior management people so that they can appreciate me. So the appreciation which BA get normally, it's really high, much higher than a project manager who work on the project for 6-7 months. You just working there on in mostly 4-5 weeks at the most on a typical project. Because when you envision the project, when you envision the SRS, you can release it to a development team and they can take it up from there. And that's how the overall BA works on day in day out. But you will be in an approver position, you will be in a suggestive position for something like FRS, which is a kind of overall Bible or overall the base for the product, service or project which the development team is working on. Okay, so let's have a look at another video. It's kind of next series from what we've seen. So it will also emphasize overall how important is to understand the pivot tables, right? So I'll just start this video for you. Give me a minute, please. To share these things. I'll share this screen. This is also a small video, and just have a look at it.
Excel Campus and turn it into a nice looking dashboard. We learned how to create our first pivot table and pivot chart. In this video, we're going to create a few more pivot tables and learn how they can help us answer questions about our data. I will explain how we can use the different calculation types to investigate the source data and how to update your pivot tables with more data. And finally, I will demonstrate how PivotPal helps make some of these processes faster and easier. All right, so this is the pivot table and pivot chart that we created in the first video. And I now want to build out some additional pivot tables and charts that we will ultimately add to our dashboard. So instead of inserting a brand new pivot table, I'm just going to make a duplicate copy of this sheet and then modify the new sheet. So to make a duplicate copy of the sheet, the easiest way to do that is you just left click and hold down on the sheet like you're going to drag it over to the right, then hold down the control key on the keyboard and let go of the left mouse button. That'll make a duplicate copy of the sheet. So now we could just modify this pivot table.
Can you actually make it back to that little one? I can't.
Come on, please.
Could you go back to that little screen? I can't really see.
Sure. This one?
Oh, no. Like you double clicked it and then it went bigger, right?
This one? Let's see.
These processes faster and easier.
No. Okay, when you clicked it, it made it full screen, right? The video. Can you get back out? Like make it a little smaller, the video, because I can't see the bottom. Yeah, this is better.
Okay, sorry. Oh, sure. Pardon me for that.
Pivot chart that we created in the first video. And I now want to build out some additional pivot tables and charts that we will ultimately add to our dashboard. So instead of inserting a brand new pivot table, I'm just going to make a duplicate copy of this sheet and then modify the new sheet. So to make a duplicate copy of the sheet, the easiest way to do that is you just left click and hold down on the sheet like you're going to drag it over to the right, then hold down the control key on the keyboard and let go of the left mouse button. That'll make a duplicate copy of the sheet. So now we could just modify this pivot table, our other pivot table is still intact. And the other nice advantage of this is we don't have to format the chart again. The chart's already formatted for us and it will update as we make changes to the pivot table. So now I want to see a report that shows my sales by product category. So I'm going to go ahead and remove salesperson out of the rows area here. You'll see that's updated the pivot table. So now the only thing in the pivot table is the sum of revenue. And that shows up here and in our chart as well. And now I want to add the product category into my pivot table. So I'm going to find category here in the list, drag it into the rows area. And now that's added all of our product categories here in the rows area. And I also want to sort this. So I'm going to right click here, go to sort, largest to smallest. So now we can quickly see that this company is selling a lot of beverages. That's their top performing category. Then dried fruits and nuts and sauces. So those are really their top 3 performing categories. And I actually want to limit this list to just...
Oh, what happened?
Just the top 10 categories. So
oh, sorry. This didn't work. I'm sorry.
we can quickly do that with a pivot table. I'm just going to click on the filter button here in the rows area. And then I'm going to go to value filters and choose top 10. And that'll bring up this window, and it's basically going to ask us what we want to show. In this case, we want to show the top 10 items by sum of revenues. It's already set up for us. I'm just going to click OK. And now that'll just filter this list for the top 10 items. And of course, you'd want to rename the title of this chart and this sheet as well. So now I'm going to, again, make a duplicate copy of the sheet so we can start building out more pivot tables. So again, left click, drag over, hold the control key and release. I'll make a duplicate copy. And I want to show you some different calculation types that the pivot table can do, because so far we've only been dealing with the sum of revenue. First thing I'm going to do though is clear out this filter, because remember we applied this top 10 filter. So I'm just going to click the clear filter button, and that's going to again show us all the categories here. So now I want to start answering some more questions about my category sales. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put the unit price here in the values area. And that's going to give me a sum of unit price, which actually isn't all that interesting of a calculation because there's different products within these categories. So I actually want to see the average unit price. So I'm going to right click here, go to value field settings. And now from this window, there's some different metric options. And I want to calculate the average instead of the sum. So I'm just going to click average and click OK. And now that's showing us the average unit price now. And we can see that for beverages, our average unit price is around $23. Jams and preserves is a little higher at 43. So what that means is our volume for beverages is probably higher. And to see that, we can just take the quantity field and put it in the values area. And now we have a sum of quantity. And of course, we can see here that we sold a lot of beverages, 763.
Could you understand what we did? We basically extrapolated the table from a revenue to the number of units sold, number of quantities, number of quantities for a unit price sold. So how many, what item to what level and how it's reflected in my revenue. So I'm going level deeper and deeper of calculation, which is going in background, right? The numbers are the same. Only I'm trying to understand or make it present in a way where business relevance is much more in depth. If you ask any salesperson, how, how, let's say, in the area of, let's say, in a Michigan, right? If somebody is selling 2,000 bottles of soda across counter. Now, if you want to understand which sales is much more effective, how much profit I get for, let's say, a Coke bottle, for Pepsi bottle, or any the beverage for that matters. And I can go to a level where I can understand, I bought 50 bottles of Coke at $7 and sold it $10. I bought 30 bottles of Pepsi at $9 and sold it at $10. So how am I, going to reflect in my pocket? Coke is getting sold at much better profit margin, and I can sell more Coke. So I'll put my efforts to selling more Coke bottles, Coca-Cola bottles, right? And that's how the overall I can make strategic decision on the basis of calculation done by Excel. Be it something like iris scanner of Sony or Philips, and I'm trying to compare the cost plus advantages allocate to it, and so on and so forth. So if I really do my research, if I do my homework and plot it, the numbers in my Excel sheet can show me in terms of trends, in terms of internal calculation to a level where I can clearly create a business decision and present it to top management, so that whatever I've decided, whatever I analyzed, and the way I presented it can clearly define the business goal at a level of top management as well. And this is how the Excel sheet is really effective for me. And this is how he's trying to depict. So this is a kind of, advanced level techniques. But to know this thing is really important for a BA, because you do R&D, you do research, right? Whenever a vision comes to you in terms of BRD, in terms of 6 or 7 email, bulleted email points, you try to understand the best possible scenario available in the market. You try to understand best possible products to be supported for that scenario. And believe me, nowadays, everything is just not the software. It's basically how to utilize whatever available in the market. And that's how it builds overall better and effective working. You can build your product or project in the much lesser time than we used to do in good old days. Because everything is mix and match. There's no one software or one technique you do normally. There are many techniques, and that's how the BA's roles and responsibility is evolving. That's how we have many BAs. So you could be work with a team of BAs where you can be domain expert in choosing product, or third party open system product can be utilized to your domain. You could be a domain expert. You could be expert in attendance management system or HR biometric systems, and so on and so forth. So there are quite a few number of areas now evolved, and you can build your expertise in your domain, and that's how you can really improve your working with all this research. And the presentation of a research does matter a lot, and that's why I couldn't emphasize enough to play around with the Excel. Try to build that expense sheet, and we can build on top of that how to basically devise this pivot tables, and we could understand how it works for each of us, and you can really do wonders with all this planning and analysis done in the background. We just click, and that's how it happens, right? I'll just let you continue.
And that's just about the highest out of all the product categories. The other thing that might be interesting to note is how many orders we sold for each of these categories. So again, I'm going to take the quantity field and drag it into the values area. And instead of sum, I actually want the count. So I'm going to go to value field settings, and now I'm going to choose count from this list, hit OK. And so now that's showing me the count of orders, or the count of rows in my data set for each of these product categories. And the other thing that kind of sticks out here is this blank row. So we have a row of product categories that are blank, and you can see there's eight rows basically of blank product categories. So let's see what's going on with these, because the boss is definitely going to ask about that when he sees this report. So I'm going to filter the category field here for blanks. I'm just going to go down to the bottom, filter for blanks. And that's basically showing us that here's these 8 blank rows that we're seeing in the pivot table. And we can see there's no product name here. There are some shipping fees. So this might be some kind of shipping fee. And we'd obviously want to ask our billing department about that. But for now, I'll just put shipping fee in the category so we at least know what it is. So with those selected, I'm going to use the Alt semicolon shortcut to select visible cells. Then I'm going to type shipping fee in here. And now I'm going to hold down the Control key on the keyboard and hit Enter. And that'll fill that value or formula in all the selected cells. Control Enter does that. So now if we go back to the pivot table, we'll see it still says blank here because the pivot table needs to be refreshed. And you can do that with any cell selected in the pivot table. You can go to the Analyze or Options tab. And there's a refresh button right here. You can also right-click the pivot table and click refresh. And then the keyboard shortcut is Alt F5. So I just refreshed there. And now we can see we have our shipping fee down here. And we have a total of 8 of those. So that makes a little more sense since there's no revenue and no quantity coming in for shipping fees. Okay, so I want to show you one of my other favorite calculations. I'm just going to make a copy of the page here. I'm going to remove a few of these fields here, and I'm just going to keep sum of revenue. A lot of times you ask the question, okay, we have revenue for beverages of $17,452.
Sure.
What is that as a percentage of our total revenue? And you can quickly answer that with a pivot table.
Anybody have any question for me?
Yes, this is Rudra. So I actually had a question about when you refresh it, does it refresh every page or every sheet you copied, or just that one?
Just that one.
Okay.
See, there's something called, focused and non-focused. Now the sales rep sheet 4 is in focus. The other sheets are not refreshed. So if you do any updates in other sheets, and if they are connected for calculation, then those will not get updated. Whatever is focused sheet, right? That's get updated. So refresh is for this sheet command. Yeah, go ahead, please.
How do you know if it's focused or not?
See, you can see at the bottom, I have sales rep 2, sales rep 3, sales rep 4. The 4 is in a lighter color. Could you see that?
Okay, gotcha, understood.
And it basically connects to your table in a way where there's no line in that. That's called name of the sheet, and that sheet is active. So whatever is active or focused gets refreshed. The command is for particular sheet. That's really good question basically to ask, because whenever you work, this plays an important part. Whenever you refresh those formulas and those numbers on the particular sheet. Okay, we'll have another 5-10 minutes of thing today, so that just bear with me for the extension, please. And then I'll share those templates with you, and I'll share this video link as well.
So I'm going to add our revenue field into the values area again. and that's just created sum of revenue. This time I'm going to right click, go to value field settings, and show values as, this tab here. And now we're going to choose calculation as a percentage of grand total. Click OK. And you can see now that's automatically created that calculation percentage of grand total. So we can now see that beverages makes up almost 25% of our revenue. And we can see.
So how top management can spend the efforts, they can concentrate all their efforts on the top 3, because that's calculating almost around 80% of the total revenue of company, right? So as a shopkeeper or as a business owner, how do I do it? Whatever is creating profit margins for me, I can concentrate my efforts on that. So as a house owner, whatever I'm getting the maximum cost savings, I'll go to that store, and that way I can plan my overall purchase as well. Means I can let the Excel sheet work for me for selecting a store. Might be Aldi, might be Walmart, might be Circuit City or Gateway. But I need to understand whatever my purchase patterns are, how far or near the things are. So if I can plot my expenses on a day in day out basis, I can plan the time, I can plan my revenue, I can really plan my purchasing in advance. And I know how many dollars I need to spend on this weekend, so that I can grab whatever I need in terms of next market trip or next shop trip or next Best Buy trip or something like that sort. So this is how the overall extrapolation work for even business analyst on job. You normally can plan your research in advance, you can plan your efforts in advance. If you can get the Excel sheet of your overall effort spending, tool release, and those things as well.
These top 3 selling categories make up a big chunk of our revenue, over 50%. So over half of our revenue, 56%, is coming from these top 3 categories here. So then you might ask the question, okay, who's selling in these categories? And we can quickly answer that as well. So if I find my salesperson field here, I'm just going to drag it into the rows area. And now that's automatically added our salesperson. It's basically lists all the salespeople that has sold in this specific category. So for each category, it's telling you who has sold in that specific category. And this again provides some interesting metrics, because now we can see that Nancy is responsible for selling almost over 10% or 11% of our sales in beverages for the company. So that's a pretty big number. Another interesting way to look at this is if I'm going to take the sum of revenue out of the pivot table, and now I'm going to put salesperson over in columns here. And basically what that's done is it's now listed each of our salespeople across the top here of the pivot table. That's all of our salespeople. And then down the left side, we have our categories. So now you can kind of see which salespeople are selling in each category. So you can just kind of look down the list and see everything that Andrew's doing, which product categories he's selling in, which ones Andrew's selling in, and so on. So as you can see with the pivot table, you could really just slice and dice all day long and do different pivots of your data to find trends.
Here, as we can see, Nancy selling beverage at 11.27. So overall sales, the best employee is Nancy, because she is selling, and overall best product is beverage, right? So the way we can understand this is via Excel sheet, when I have the data and when I know how to use pivot tables. To calculate this, to analyze this, if I go with the paper pen method, it might take weeks altogether. And this is kind of history analysis, right? This is the analysis of last month's sales report, or last year's sales report for that matter. And I'm trying to analyze who is the best performer, who's what product is the best product which I can sell to, or I can apply my profit the best possible way, or the efforts best possible way, so that I can make more money. This is how the business strategies works day in, day out, right? So I think we'll stop here at this moment, because I think it's getting late for you as well. You might have, other engagement. So, any questions at this moment, I'll share this link, and please do your homework, create some Excel sheet with your expenses, and we'll try to work on that. We'll try to understand pivot tables. If you can try with these, I'll share this video in the group. You can build your, extrapolations and try to understand how it works. Because this will give you an edge over, as a senior BA, or, understanding the tools best possible way. So you need to get your hands dirty on this, right? And we'll have a recap of these in the next session. Next session will be on Sunday, right? Today is Sunday or Friday? Today, yeah, Sunday. Please confirm me. Sunday we'll go to Sunday evening. We'll have the next session. Is that a correct statement?
Yeah, Sunday evening.
Yeah.
Today is
Okay,
Friday.
great. Okay, so homework for you: build your expense, Excel sheet. Try to understand what is row, what is column, what is cell, and what are the nomenclature. In the videos also I shared earlier, there are 3 links, and those basically can guide you to understand this nomenclature within Excel. And I'll share these 2 videos also in the group, so that you can understand how to create pivot tables, how to really beautify your presentation, how to plot your research in numbers, and then create these beautiful looking charts for the top managements. That's the use of the tool. So as in BA, if you know use case diagrams, if you know Excel, and if you have the template, you can do wonders as in BA. So you'll be completely enabled as in BA as of today in terms of the basic tools and basic knowledge. So start using, get your hands dirty, start learning more, start trying to sit in the chair, feel the pain, try to understand what BA does, how I work, whenever I join Infosys, whenever I join any company for that matters. So that's how I believe we are at a quite good juncture to start understanding BA as a role. Now we understood the different input outputs, different tools we use. We learn the basic tools, right? And we learn basic tools up to in good depth, frankly speaking. So you are enabled BA as of today. Now we need to understand more tools available. There are a couple of good other tools which are kind of supported in your requirement gathering, supported in your decision making, supported in your presentation to the top management as well. So we're going to learn those tools as well. But Excel, as of now, I think we are at a quite good maturity in terms of Excel as a tool or use case as a tool. And templates, I'm going to share it on a group, and we can take it from there, right? If you have any questions, any confusion, please do WhatsApp me. WhatsApp is the best because of the time difference, and everybody has his own engagement. So please do WhatsApp me. And I believe for Rudra, Rudra, talk to your contact in Guru School, and they'll let you enter to the group so that you can also get leverage from all these sharings and all as well. Okay.
Thank you.
Same thing goes with Pavni, you also. So talk to your correspondent and get yourself added to the group.
Oh, yeah, I added in group and
You are in group. Okay, great.
yeah,
And
and I have a doubt when the classes are started. Actually, Roshni said that on Monday onward the classes will start.
classes will start. We are in the classes, no?
No, we are in the classes, but main classes he said what Dave said. Actually, the main classes will start on Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays.
Right. And Sunday
Yeah.
we also have, because Sunday on Sunday as well. So Sunday, Monday. So we have 4 classes, 2 hours each. So we study 8 hours every week.
Every week. How long
8
it will
hours.
continue? Because
Right.
of they didn't said me that what is a particular class and when it will start, and I'm not sure about those all things. And today I entered into that in the group. So yeah, I will message to Dave and all. I didn't. I just only registered. I didn't pay any money, and tomorrow we're going to pay, and I will talk with him. Yeah.
Sure.
Finally.
So I think Roshni is the right person. They might be
I'll
not
talk
that
with her.
fit. So have a word with
All the-
Roshni, and she can guide you. I believe she have all the details whatever you require.
Yeah, sure. I will talk with her.
Sure.
And yeah.
Okay. Any other questions for me at this moment?
No, nothing more. Mostly, I'll still it takes time to me for that. But most of
Sure.
it, I know what the Excel, all the things, and not deeply. Just like what you said. I'm getting into that.
Great, no problem.
Yeah.
See, we all learn, right? We all learn, we all grow, and we need to put off some of our efforts to get there. So it's a kind of process, and we need to be part of that process. So let's get ahead on that.
Yeah,
Okay,
sure.
Isha, do you have any question for me at this moment?
No, I'm good. Actually,
Great.
I have a question not related to the class, but related to the LinkedIn. So I don't know if you are the right person or should I ask someone. So when we go in the job market, definitely right now the LinkedIn profile, everyone wants to see the LinkedIn profile.
Right.
And my LinkedIn profile is very active in my profession, you know. So should I create a new LinkedIn profile? I mean, I don't know if it's a good idea or not, or how we can work it out.
I believe your LinkedIn profile should be in link with your, resume or profile, which these guys market. Means we have a marketing team, right? So
Uh,
I believe the right now is not the right time. Let's wait for a couple of days because it depends on how they're showcasing your experience. Because there are
yes,
certain weeks or months we need to tweak in the basis of location, clients, and all those things as well nowadays.
yes, because
So
I don't think I'll be able to change my current LinkedIn profile.
you can create a new, no? And you can have that link embedded in your profile nowadays because they want your LinkedIn profile. So whatever
Yes.
new profile you have, and
Mm-hmm.
you can add there, and we can have all the connections. I'm Ravindra Patna, by the way. You can get me connected on LinkedIn. I
I
also have
think
two
I
profiles.
I
One
think
is
I have sent you the LinkedIn request also, didn't I? I checked your profile.
so we are connected, right?
I think so. Let me check.
Okay, that's good. I also have two profile. One
Oh,
with 30K on members, and one with almost 8,000 connections.
yes, because I am
Because
in recruitment, so I'm actively working, you know, and in here the recruitment industry is very small, so everyone knows me very well. So if
great,
I'm
great.
changing my previous experience, that will not look good in my
I know, I can
profile.
understand that, right? I can clearly understand that.
Okay.
So yeah, that's why we need second profile because we don't want to really disturb our older connections, right? So I
Yes.
can understand that. No, no worries. So I believe I'll just hold for the new profile for a couple, a week or so that you can add those relevant experience and show those relevant organization you're working with and so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
Because those has to be called and verified and all those things as well.
It's because currently I'm working part-time. It's not like I'm not at all
I
working.
can understand. I
I
can
am
understand.
working and I am like putting my comments and all those things in my profile. So that is also the reason I cannot change anything in that current profile.
Sure, sure. Definitely, I can understand that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank
So
you.
that's all. Sorry, please go ahead.
No, no, thank you so much.
No problem. Thanks a lot to you guys. And I'll complete stop the session here, and I'll do the sharing on within the group. Okay.
Okay,
Thanks a
thank
lot for
you.
your time. Okay.
Thank you.
Have a
Good night.
have a
Thank
good
you.
night. Good night.
Thank you.
Take care.
Good
Thank
morning.
you.
Yeah, good night.
Morning.
Good night.
No problem. Thank you. Deepesh, we need to talk, right? Deepesh, are you there? Rudra, do you have any question for me?
No, sir. I'm good.
Okay,
I'll
so
do the
if
homework.
you have any question, yeah, you can check with your coordinator, and I think get that enrollment thing, whatever it is. I really don't know in depth, but if you could get it sorted out with the corresponding person, it'll be a great help to you as well.
For
Santosh,
sure.
are we good? Revti?
Yes,
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 sir.
yes,
We are good.
perfectly.
Great. Sure,
Yeah.
sure. Any problem, you can WhatsApp me in the group as well, and we can take it up from there. I'm going to share the document so you can also have a look at it, and please prepare your questions so that we can discuss in depth, because I believe you are not from IT background. So understanding those bit technical terms also does play an important part in our discussions overall, right?
Yes, yes, yes. It
Yes,
is
that's the one.
definitely
Sure. Thank you,
because
Revti. Thank
some
you,
Okay.
Santosh.
technical words.
Thanks
Yeah,
a lot.
definitely.
Thanks a lot, Rudra. You can also sign off.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, Pavni. You can also
Yes.
sign off.
Yeah,
Thank
sure.
you. Bye.
Bye.
Uh, Deepesh, could we talk, please? Deepesh, I'll just chat you. Give me a minute.